This video continues with Chapter 41, The Powerful Hunting Dragon. One Piece, The Ancient Beast Summoner. Chapter 41, The Powerful Hunting Dragon. Seeing this scene, Izaki couldn't help but sneer at the corner of his mouth. You've already broken an arm, haven't you learned your lesson? Do you really think that elementalization is invincible? There weren't many powerful men in the first half of the Grand Line who knew how to be armed and domineering. But unfortunately, he and his dinosaurs knew how to do it. Crocodile raised a smile on his lips and ignored the steel knife in his body. Crescent-shaped dunes. His other hand turned into a huge crescent-shaped sand dune and instantly slashed the body of the hunting dragon. Die, ha! Crocodile laughed arrogantly. I saw that the place where the hunting dragon was struck was slowly drying up, and the water was sucked away. Crocodile was very proud. This was one of the unique tricks he developed. Those who were hit would only turn into mummies. But soon he was stunned when he saw a black light appearing on the bronze giant, blocking the absorption of water in the sand. Then a huge steel knife came. Thus, he quickly turned into sand and fell to the ground, then condensed out from a few meters away. Boom. The huge steel knife struck the ground, a crack more than 10 meters long was cut out, and a wave of dust swept away. Armed, colored, domineering. Crocodile gritted his teeth and looked at the dragon hunter. His eyes seemed to be full of hatred, as if he had returned to the moment when Whitebeard chopped off his arm. Die. The hunting dragon looked at him with a pair of big eyes as if looking at prey. The huge steel swords in his hands were covered with a layer of armed domineering energy, making the steel swords dark and exuding a cold aura. Then he slashed at him with both swords. Shallan! Crocodile roared angrily. A sandstorm appeared in his hand, and he threw it out suddenly. The sandstorm collided with the two steel knives. Boom! A sandstorm exploded. Terrifying wind waves swept the surrounding area with sand, and a large crater was blasted out of the ground. Boom! Houses nearby were blown away and knocked down. The hunting dragon did not retreat and rushed towards him again. Crocodile now no longer dared to rely on elementalization. His hands turned into huge desert swords, and he faced him. Boom, boom, boom! A terrifying explosion sounded. A few hundred meters in radius turned into a desert battlefield, covered in sand and dust. Shock waves swept out from time to time, causing a large number of houses to collapse. Some residents looked on in horror and retreated again and again, but no one dared to get close. It's so scary. Is this a sand crocodile? Natural fruits are indeed terrifying. If we go together, we will soon be buried in the sea of sand, right? Let's fight. It's best to fight in such a way that both sides will be injured. Some people are happy, some are sad, and some ambitious bounty hunters are looking at the battlefield with gleaming eyes. By the time they finish fighting, someone will definitely be injured, and it's best if both of them die. That way they can at least get one head in exchange for the bounty. Ho tilde! At this time a roar came. Everyone stared. I saw a black shadow fly out from the desert battlefield and hit the house hard, knocking down several houses before stopping. In the sand, a huge black shadow slowly appeared. It was the hunter dragon that had transformed into a dinosaur form. Its entire body was glowing with bronze, and its several-meter-long tail was wrapped in an armed domineering aura. They are the summoner's men. It's so terrifying. Can you even defeat the natural element? Is this the power of a summoner? The surrounding bounty hunters and other residents were stunned, looking at this scene in disbelief. Chapter 42, Defeating Crocodile. In the ruins of a house, Crocodile slowly climbed up, coughing out a mouthful of blood, his eyes filled with madness. He failed again, and he was defeated by a nobody. Even if he was defeated by Whitebeard, he could still say that his skills were inferior to others. After all, Whitebeard was now known as the most powerful man in the world. But he had never even heard of the giant in front of him. Tot. This time, the sound of footsteps came. A figure appeared in front of him. It was Izaki, and Hunter Dragon was following behind him. How about cooperating with me? Zhang Kai's looked at him with a smile. Seeing that he still had that fierce look in his eyes, Asakusawa continued, "You want to conquer Alabasta and get Hades, right?" Hearing his words, Crocodile's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" Crocodile gritted his teeth and stared at him, clenching his hands. He had never felt like this before, like standing naked in front of this young man. "It doesn't matter who I am, and I don't care about Pluto. I just want money. Let's cooperate. I just want money," Izaki Z said with a smile. Although he has a system in place, there are too few ways to make money, and he is only one person and has no skills at all. So it's better to let others help you make money. You don't have to run around, you can just stay in one place quietly and improve your strength. Crocodile is a good money maker. Although he is not as good as Doflamingo, he is not bad. With your own help, making hundreds of millions is no longer just fun. Moreover, Crocodile wants to set up a working club, so the pirates he hunts can be handed over to him in exchange for bounties, which is perfect. If you want to find Hades, you must understand the historical text. Nico Robin is now my crew member. If you cooperate with me, I can ask Nico Robin to translate the historical text for you," he continued. Crocodile's eyes lit up slightly. "What is your purpose?" He admitted that he was moved, but he still couldn't believe the young man in front of him. "My purpose is money. If it weren't for killing a trash noble, I would still be a pirate hunter now," Zhang Kizawa said with the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Crocodile looked at him closely, as if he wanted to see something in his eyes. A few seconds later, "Okay, I agree," Crocodile said solemnly. "You will be glad you made this choice today." Izaki Z smiled and stretched out his hand. Crocodile also stretched out his hand and shook it. "Let's sit down in a restaurant and talk slowly." In a small restaurant. The two sat opposite each other, with Hunter Dragon guarding the door. The restaurant owner hid after serving the food. "Crocodile, has your work club been established?" Izaki Z asked while eating side dishes, feeling like he was a good friend who had known each other for many years. "I came here to form the Baroque Working Society," Crocodile said calmly, without even looking at him. "Well, I don't care about these things, but you should try to expand your intelligence network as much as possible. I want to hunt down pirates. When the time comes, your agency will come forward to redeem the bounty. At the same time, I can provide you with military support. By the way, you have to get me a phone bug and give me information about the Grand Waterway," Zhang Kizawa said bluntly. Crocodile raised his eyebrows without any expression. At some point he had a cigar in his mouth, looking very cold. Chapter 43 Cooperating with Crocodile. "By the way, Crocodile, your strength is too poor. Don't focus on external forces. You should strengthen your physical fitness. Only a strong body is the foundation of strength. After all, natural fruits are not invincible. In this sea, armed haki, sea tower stone, and sea water are your nemesis, and in the New World, there are countless strong people who can use armed haki." Hearing this, Crocodile's face darkened. "Don't look at me with that look. I'm just doing it for your own good. Which strong man on the sea doesn't know how to be armed and knowledgeable? Are you willing to live in that small country from now on?" Izaki Z said softly. "In fact, Crocodile is quite good, especially in the later stages, and I feel very handsome. But he wasted too much time. The country failed to get it, the work company is gone, and Pluto doesn't even know where his shadow is. If Crocodile can work hard now, he will definitely be a powerful helper in the future, at least not weaker than the 3 generals. Think about it if you want to kill Whitebeard." "I know," Crocodile said with a gloomy expression. The severed hand was trembling slightly. "I have figured it out. Give up taking Alabasta, and only use Alabasta to make money. All you need to do is get the historical text of Alabasta. Don't put the base camp there. With your fruit ability after you awaken, you can completely build the island turned into a desert. Go all out to develop the working community and work hard to make money. Izaki said seriously. The last sentence is what you really mean, right? Crocodile said through gritted teeth. Don't worry about these details. You also want to make money, right? Izaki touched his nose and said with a smile, snort. Crocodile snorted coldly and said no more. Bang, bang, bang. At this time, there was a vibration on the ground. Crocodile's eyes narrowed and he stood up. Don't be nervous, it's just another pet of mine. Izaki smiled, then stood up and walked out. Crocodile rolled his eyes and walked out. I saw a huge figure walking slowly outside, and the ground shook with every step. On that huge and ferocious head, the row of teeth radiating with cold light was chilling. Crocodile couldn't help but shrink his eyes when he saw this dinosaur. Roar tilde the Tyrannosaurus Rex came to Jiang Kizawa, lowered his head, and let out a low roar. The eyes of the hunting dragon next to him were filled with excitement. Are you hungry? Let the dragon hunter take you to find a Mosasaurus and bring you ahead of a sea beast. Izaki patted the tough skin of the Tyrannosaurus Rex and said with a chuckle. Roar tilde the Tyrannosaurus Rex barked, which meant it was hungry. Hunter, take the Tyrannosaurus Rex to eat something. Yes, sir. Hunter Dragon responded in a deep voice. I'm very curious about what kind of fruit ability user you are. Crocodile looked at him and asked, a little curious about the boy who looked like the boy next door. Lu Xun once said, when you are curious about someone, it is love-a-hum. Izaki glanced at him. I am not a person with fruit abilities. To be honest, he is not. Crocodile frowned. The pirate King Gal D. Roger has the power to hear the sounds of all things and see and hear the colors. He can understand the sounds of all things. It's not surprising that I can understand the words of dinosaurs. You have seen too little. Izaki said calmly, unknowingly pretending to be again. Chapter 44 Meeting Hawkeye. When Crocodile heard what he said, his face sank again, the corners of his eyes twitched, and he had the urge to hit someone. How long do you plan to stay here? Jiang Kizawa asked again. Leave when you're done. Oh, I'll leave tomorrow. Give me a phone number so I can contact you easily. Snort. With a cold face, Crocodile took out a phone bug from somewhere and handed it over, looking very arrogant. Thank you. By the way, if you have money, roll. Okay. The next day, Whiskey Peak Pier. On a large ship with a golden dragon skull flag, 2 dinosaurs more than 10 meters long were lying on the deck. 2 little ones were pulling the sails, and there was a figure standing on the bow of the ship with flowing silver hair. Thousands of meters high, a pterosaur was hovering. Raise the sails and set sail. Asakizawa Top Gun shouted. Oh, woohoo on his shoulder. The little orangutan also imitated him and screamed at the sea. It was very cute. Thus! Exclamation Carmen and little Robin pulled the rope, and the 3 sails fell down. A strong wind blew, and the ship began to move slowly. Bang! The boat shook slightly and the speed of the boat increased. Soon, the ship disappeared at the end. The surrounding residents and bounty hunters breathed a sigh of relief. Crocodile, who was standing in front of a house, looked at the silhouette of their disappearing boat, his eyes flickering. Who are you to be able to control sea beasts and dinosaurs? He naturally knew that there was a sea beast lurking in the water, which was why he was shocked. But it's not bad to cooperate with someone whose whole body is full of secrets. I hope you won't disappoint me. Crocodile's eyes were filled with arrogance, and he turned around and disappeared. On the sea, on the deck of the ship, as Kizawa was lying on the ground with his upper body naked, doing push-ups up and down. 3069, 3070. The sun shone on his red body, and as soon as the sweat came out of his body, it was evaporated into mist and wrapped around him. Beside him, 2 thin figures were also doing push-ups up and down. It was Carmen and little Robin. The 2 little guys' faces were red, they were clenching their teeth. Their slender arms were trembling slightly, and they were doing it very hard. But they didn't stop, they kept persisting, falling down and getting up again, their bodies covered with sweat. Next to them, the huge head of Tyrannosaurus Rex was lying on the ground, with a pair of big eyes watching them move up and down, and the eyes also moved along with it, which was very interesting. Yet at this time, a cry came from the Wukong pterosaur in the sky. Bang bang! Hunter Dragon stood up and looked in the direction where Wukong Winged Dragon was calling. I saw a small boat approaching slowly in the distance. Sir, a man is here, the dragon hunter said in a low voice. Zhang Kizawa lowered his head, a light flashed in his eyes, and slowly stood up. When he saw the figure on the boat, his eyes narrowed. Hawkeye, why is he here? On the boat. Joraker Mihawk felt that someone was looking at him, so he couldn't help but look over from 100 meters away, and a pair of eagle eyes flashed coldly. A pirate, it's a pity that he's not a swordsman. But this giant, he looked at the bronze giant with fighting intent in his eyes. Soon, the two ships were approaching. Fight with me and I'll let you go. Joraker Mihawk stepped on his feet, flew onto Asakasawa's ship, looked at the hunting dragon and said. Hunter Dragon took a step across and stood in front of Zhang Kai's. Chapter 45, Eagle Eye, a sophomore in middle school. Hawkeye, the sea is not suitable for fighting right now. Zhang Kizawa stood forward, looked at Hawkeye and said. The current Hawkeye is still very young and has no beard on his face, but his eyes are as sharp as before, which is painful to look at. It doesn't matter, you can find a small island. Joraker Mihawk said coldly. Eagle Eye, with your current strength, he will not be your opponent. He probably won't be of any help to you. You can go to Xuanyu village in the East China Sea. There should be a strong swordsman or above there. Izaki Z said calmly. He doesn't want to waste time on this meaningless battle now. It is meaningless at all. It will not improve the strength of the dragon hunter, let alone get money. As for Kushiro of Tokai, although his strength is not known, Wado Ikamanji, who possesses the 21 skills of the Great Sword, is at least as powerful as a swordsman, which is completely in line with Hawkeye's goal. Swordsman and above. Joraker Mihawk's eagle eyes flashed vaguely. He is now at the top level of swordsman and is still a little short of breaking through to the Great Swordsman. If a swordsman really fights with him, maybe he can find his own way of swordsmanship. He looked at Hunter Dragon again and said calmly, I feel the sword energy in him. The corner of Ezukizawa's mouth twitched, and he said helplessly, that's not sword energy, and he's not a swordsman. He's a devil fruit user. Immediately afterwards, Hunter Dragon's right hand suddenly turned into a blade emitting cold light. Joraker Mihawk couldn't help but shrink his eyes when he saw this scene. This fruit, although he didn't like the power of the devil fruit, he had to say that he was attracted by this fruit. If he gets this fruit, he might be able to break through to the Great Swordsman in no time, and he will also be a very terrifying Great Swordsman. But in the end he shook his head. This fruit is good, but it's a pity that it was wasted on you. After finishing speaking, Joraker Mihawk jumped down and landed on his little boat. We'll see you again. With that said, he left in the boat. Zhang Kizawa looked at his back, the corner of his mouth twitching. He felt that the world's greatest swordsman was a bit of a fool, like a fool. Forget it, we'd better get to Sky Island as soon as possible. We can't put our hopes on others. He shook his head. Mosasaurus, catch 2 fish and bring them up. He yelled down below. Roar. Mosasaurus replied. Okay, let's take a rest and eat something first, he said to Carmen and the others. Then, the 2 of them immediately fell to the ground, not wanting to move at all, and their bodies were covered in sweat. A few days later, Captain, we're in the little garden, Carmen shouted. Esukasawa walked to the bow of the ship and saw a huge island appearing in front of him. The trees on this island were very large. Ho-ho. There were also roars of beasts coming from inside. The ancient island, the small garden, there are many dinosaurs on it. Asaki Z murmured. Ding! The ancient dragon creature in this world is detected and the recycling function is turned on. Suddenly an electronic sound sounded. This made his eyes widen. This is the first time the system has issued a different prompt. He took a deep breath and then said to Carmen and the others, "Get to the shore, but don't go ashore yet. The creatures above are very powerful." Although he didn't know why, Carmen still responded, "Yes, Captain." Then, as Kizawa walked back to his room, Chapter 46 Recycling Function. Host, Izaki Z. Age, 18 years old. Strength, Naval Headquarters Lieutenant Colonel Peel. 3 million. Ability, Overlord. Color Domineering. Characteristic, Surrender. Armed. Color Domineering. Wisdom. Color Domineering. Summon, Strengthen, Synthesize, Recycle. Recycling the ancient dragon creature in this world can form a dinosaur fruit. If you swallow the dinosaur fruit, you will have the ability to transform into a dinosaur, and at the same time serve the host can be synthesized, cannot be enhanced. Seeing this function, his face lit up with joy. This function was amazing. Isn't this similar to artificial devil fruits? It's even better than artificial devil fruits. But you can't use the enhancements in the system. You can only make it stronger yourself or wait for his help to synthesize it. Overall, it is good. I don't know what functions the system has yet to show up. I'm really looking forward to it, Izaki Z said with a smile. Then he walked out. Since there is such an awesome function, it is natural to catch dinosaurs. There are many huge dinosaurs in the small garden. Some are bigger than Tyrannosaurus Rex and Venator. Come on, let's go up. Then the group of people walked onto this island known as the Pangu Island. Ouch! Suddenly a tiger roar came. Then, a huge black shadow jumped in front of them, and a fierce aura enveloped them. This is a 3-meter high and 6-meter long saber-toothed tiger, with 2 long fangs that are as long as swords emitting a little bit of cold light, and a pair of tiger eyes full of majesty. Clang! Without as Kizawa opening his mouth, the dragon hunter turned into a blade several meters long, took a long step, and slashed with the broadsword. Roar! The saber-toothed tiger roared and rushed forward. Puffy saw a huge head of the saber-toothed tiger flying up and then stuck upside down on the ground. A rain of blood splashed out, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex opened its mouth wide. Roar! The terrifying sound wave blasted away the blood rain, and not a drop fell on them. The dragon hunter shook the blood off the blade, and his hand returned to its original shape. But he set his sights on Izaki Z. "Sir, this meat is good for us." Jiang Kizawa raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Then eat. Since you can improve your strength here, stay here for a while before leaving." "Thank you, Master." Then Venator grabbed the body of the saber-toothed tiger and started to chew it, along with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The scene was a bit bloody, and in less than a minute, the giant saber-toothed tiger corpse turned into a pile of bones. "Let's go." They continued walking inside. The further you go inside, the bigger the trees are and the denser the leaves are. The ground is covered with layers of dead leaves, and there is a layer of water stains on it. You can imagine how humid it is. Occasionally, there are insects crawling by, and those insects are much larger than ordinary ones. "Be careful, there are bugs here, don't get bitten," Izaki Z said softly. In the plot, Nami was bitten by a bug here, and then fell ill and went to the Drum Kingdom. He is not afraid, he is afraid of Carmen and Little Robin. They are too weak, and Little Robin is less than 10 years old. "Yes, Captain," the two of them responded, their bodies tensing up. Bang, bang, bang. At this time, bursts of shaking sounds came. "The sound is getting closer, Brush." They saw a huge head sticking out from the grass in front of them, its ferocious head staring at them with cruel eyes. This is a baryonyx. When the baryonyx saw them, it roared and charged forward, not afraid of the Tyrannosaurus Rex and Venatorosaurus, which were bigger than it. Chapter 47 Dinosaur Fruit. Tyrannosaurus Rex couldn't help but get angry when he saw that this little dinosaur dared to provoke him, and faced it directly. Its huge mouth was 1/3 larger than Baryonyx. When approaching the Tyrannosaurus rex, the baryonyx suddenly jumped up and grabbed out with its huge claws that exuded cold light. Then! Exclamation! The Tyrannosaurus rex bit it with its huge mouth puff. Ho tilde! The baryonyx hissed and its claws were bitten off easily. Tyrannosaurus rex's ability is violent bite. Each bite can reach 20 tons of bite force. Don't kill! Jong Kizawa shouted quickly. He didn't know whether to recycle corpses or live ones. If only live ones were needed, then he would be at a loss. Hearing his master's words, the Tyrannosaurus rex was stunned for a moment, and the hunting dragon quickly took action, took a big step, put his hands on the head of the baryonyx, and pressed it suddenly. Boom! The baryonyx's head hit the ground hard, making a loud noise. Its head buzzed, and it became motionless. Jiang Kais walked over and placed his hand on the baryonyx. Ding! Recycle or not? Recycle. He said something silently in his mind. He saw the baryonyx transform into a ray of light, fall on his hand, and transform into a fruit that was a little different from the devil fruit. This fruit is only about the size of a fist, in the shape of an apple, with a baryonyx pattern printed on its surface, which is lifelike. It's a pity. It would be great if there was a system package. It's too troublesome to hold it like this. Izaki Z murmured. But this was impossible. The system did not produce a package for him. Kamen, this fruit can turn you into the dinosaur you were just now. Are you willing to eat it? He said to Carmen. Captain, give this to me, Carmen said in surprise, his heart almost flying with excitement. Yeah. Jiang Kais nodded. After eating, can I change back? Carmen asked worriedly. Don't worry, it's the same as a devil fruit. Then I'll eat. This is something that changes his destiny. He doesn't want to be a logistician anymore. He also has a dream. Well, eat it. Izaki Z threw the baryonyx fruit to him. Carmen quickly caught it, his hands trembling with excitement, and then took a bite in front of Many Eyes Puff. The fruit turned into a beam of light and rushed into his mouth. Kamen was stunned. A ray of light shot out from his eyes, and then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Roar tilde! He let out a beastly roar, and then his body quickly grew in size. Thus! Exclamation! The ground shook, and a nearly 10-meter-long baryonyx appeared on the spot. It was exactly the same as the baryonyx just now, but its eyes were a little more agile and a little less ferocious. Kamen looked at his current body and then changed back to his human form. Thank you, Captain. Kamen knelt down and looked at Jiang Kais with his eyes. Well, get up. Izaki Z nodded. After the fruit's power came out, he would not rebel in the future. Are you afraid of water? Suddenly he remembered this question. Not afraid. Carmen shook his head. That's good. In this way, this fruit is better than the devil fruit, at least it doesn't have fatal flaws. But it's a pity that I can't give him feedback attributes. If you want to get feedback attributes, you have to summon dinosaurs. Just keep walking. Next, they swept across and encountered ancient creatures one after another, such as saber-toothed tigers, mammoths, and titanoboa. The most common ones are dinosaurs. 3 hours later, they appeared in front of a mountain peak. Chapter 48, Meeting Green Ghost Dongli. At the foot of the huge mountain. Behind Kamen, he was carrying a lot of dinosaur fruits, and there was no place to put them. Let's rest for a while and get some food, and then the Tyrannosaurus Rex will hunt down a beast. Jiang Kais sat on the big rock and said to the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roar tilde! The Tyrannosaurus Rex responded and walked into the forest with its thick feet. Izaki Z looked at little Robin. Robin, how is the flower fruit developing? I have only developed 4 rounds of flowers. Little Robin lowered his head and whispered. He rubbed her head and said softly, Hua fruit can grow any part of the body like a flower anywhere you can see it. You have to use your imagination more, and the flower hands you grow are based on your body. It is determined by strength, so your physical body cannot fall behind. Got it, Captain? Little Robin nodded his head hard. Jiang Kizawa nodded. The blossom fruit is quite powerful. If Garp were to use the blossom fruit and a dozen pairs of Garp's hands appeared together, how powerful would it be? Kaido would probably be twisted to pieces. He looked at the pile of fruits behind Kamen, and an idea came to his mind, but he didn't know if it could be realized. Bang, bang, the Tyrannosaurus Rex came back with a huge deer in his mouth. Dragon hunting, I leave it to you. Yes, sir. The hunting dragon began to deal with the giant deer. He who can turn into a blade shows his importance at this moment. Soon, a strong smell of meat rose from the foot of the mountain. Bang, bang, bang. At this time, the ground shook slightly. The sound came from far away. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked in one direction. A huge human head appeared. Are you a giant? A huge giant walked out of the forest. This giant was wearing a suit of armor, a cape on the back, a golden helmet, a huge sword in his hand, and a long beard. The giant looked at the hunting dragon and said doubtfully. The hunting dragon looked at its master. Jiang Kizawa nodded with a faint smile on his face. The giant clan in the small garden is Aoki Tori, one of the former captains of the giant soldier pirates. I am a giant. Hunter Dragon stood up and looked at Kingui Dongli and said in a buzzing voice. The dragon hunter is 15 meters tall, while Aki Tori is 22 meters tall. There is a difference of 7 meters. In this way, the hunter dragon looks up at him, just like a child looking at an adult. Ding he came out before he was an adult. How is the village now? Kingui Dongli looked at him kindly and smiled. He has been on this island for 80 years and has not seen outsiders come to this island for a long time, let alone the giants. The dragon hunter didn't speak. Although he has wisdom now, it is only simple wisdom. He does not know how to answer such complicated things. Seeing that this junior didn't speak, Kingui Tori thought he was nervous and then looked at Kizawa and the others with a smile. Are they your partners? Aoki-senpai, I am the captain of the Dragon Flame Pirates. Jiang Kai stood up and looked at him with a smile. Ding he, I didn't expect anyone to know my name now. Aoki Tori let out a friendly laugh. Who does Aoki-senpai's giant soldier pirates belong to? Ding he, there is no longer a giant pirate group. As long as these two seniors are here, we will still be the giant pirates. Senpai, let's sit down and have something to eat. Jiang Kizawa smiled. The giants are a very powerful race. Each adult giant can easily serve as a lieutenant general in the navy. This is the difference. They have strong physique and strength. To be honest, he wanted to recruit the giants. Chapter 49, Trapping the Green Ghost. Ding he, then I'm sorry to bother you. Kingui Dongli laughed, stuck the giant sword on the ground and sat down. The ground shook. Tyrannosaurus Rex, hunt for some food again. Carmen, you can come with us. Izaki Z said to them. Yes, Captain. Carmen said excitedly. After eating the baryonyx fruit, he is no longer the ordinary person who has no power to bind a chicken. The baryonyx's powerful physique and strength act on his body, making him full of strength. Now he wants to fight and experience the passion of a man. Little brother, you are not simple. Kingui Dongli looked at the huge Tyrannosaurus Rex and said with a chuckle. You can't compare with Senior Kingui. Jiang Kai shook his head. Based on Aoki's strength, it is estimated that the Tyrannosaurus Rex will die before he can get close. Aoki definitely has the strength of the peak of a lieutenant general. If he can use armed domineering, he should be able to reach the level of a quasi-general. I wonder if Senior Kingui has ever thought about leaving this island. Kingui Dongli shook his head. I have a bet with someone, and I will not leave this island until the outcome is determined. Jiang Kizawa's eyes flashed. He hoped to get the two giants on Little Garden Island, but if he used ordinary methods, there would definitely be no way. If that method was used, he felt a little uncomfortable. After all, morality had always been weighing on his mind. So after coming to this world, he never killed ordinary people, but only the most vicious pirates. But this is a world where the jungle prevails. There are ways to improve strength, there's nothing wrong with it, and they won't die. For a moment, Izaki Z gritted his teeth and made a decision. Sorry, we are not familiar with it. Senior Kingui, this is the fruit I brought from a treasure island. You can try it. Izaki Z picked up a dinosaur fruit next to him and handed it over with a smile, but he was very nervous in his heart. If Kingui notices something is wrong, just chop him with a knife and that's it. Kingui Dongli looked at the fruit in his hand that was no different from sand, and couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Ding he laughed, stretched out his big hand, and carefully picked up the fruit, not daring to use too much force. It would crush it if he used force. Then he threw the fruit as big as sand into his mouth, which was a great honor to Izaki Z. Seeing him like this, Izaki Z felt a little guilty for deceiving an honest man. When the dinosaur fruit fell into Kingui Dongli's mouth, a ray of light flashed from his eyes. Kingui Dongli actually showed a bitter smile in his eyes. Little brother, you deceived me so badly. He looked at Jiang Kizawa and smiled bitterly, but he could no longer feel any anger towards Jiang Kizawa, only more and more respect. I'm sorry, Aoki-senpai, I need strength. Sakizawa lowered his head guiltily and said. Kingui Dongli shook his head, then stood up. A loud roar came from his mouth. Then his body changed rapidly and turned into a huge and ferocious dinosaur. This was an Ankylosaurus, but it was 20 meters large, far larger than the Ankylosaurus summoned by Izaki Z. As Izaki Z looked at it, a flash of understanding flashed in his eyes. The stronger the person who ate it, the stronger the dinosaur would be. This should be considered complimentary. But soon, Kingui Dongli returned to his human form, but the sharp thorns on his body did not disappear. His body was also covered with a thick layer of armor, emitting a metallic light. It's still more comfortable in human form. Kingui Dongli sighed. Then he raised his hand, and a 2-meter large thorn hammer appeared in his hand, and the Ankylosaurus fruit was quickly revealed to him. Chapter 50 Plan. Ao Oni-senpai, I want Red Oni-senpai to join me. Izaki Z looked at Ai Tori and said softly. Now that you've made the beginning, let's continue. Kingui Dongli nodded. Now that this is the case, he has accepted his fate. Since he can't resist, he can just enjoy it. But I hope Aoki-senpai can rebuild the giant soldier pirates. Jiang Kizawa said solemnly. He won't let them stay on his ship. First of all, the ship can't accommodate them. If the 2 giants of the giant family get on his ship, his bounty will probably be doubled, and he will also be watched by interested people superior. Yes, I will. Since he has taken this young man as his leader, he will naturally leave the island and reorganize the giant pirates. Captain, please call me Dongli from now on. As his respect for Jiang Kizawa grew higher and higher, in his heart Jiang Kizawa was no longer a little brother. Okay. Jiang Kai's nodded. After reorganizing the giant soldier pirates, the first thing to do is to capture the dinosaurs. I want to live, and it is best if I can control the small garden. Izaki Z thought for a while and said, The small garden has a lot of dinosaur resources. As long as you control the small garden, the dinosaurs will have endless energy. However, this is a bit unrealistic. After all, this is the first half of the Great Channel, and the Navy still has strong control over it. This is probably difficult. We have to go back to Elbaf. Kingui Dongli said in a deep voice. Don't force it, just do whatever you can. By the way, how is your strength now? How much better is it than before? Izaki Z asked curiously. It would be great if the strength could reach the level of a general. It would be much easier to make money. After all, in the New World, there are still only a handful of people who have the strength to reach the level of a general. My current strength should be at the peak of Lieutenant General, but after a period of training, I should be able to go further. Kingui Dongli said seriously. The dinosaur fruit not only gave him powerful defense and strength, but also the potential for advancement. If this potential is developed, he will definitely be able to go further. Yeah, but you'd better awaken your domineering energy. From now on, our enemies will be the entire sea, especially the Navy, the three natural powerhouses. They are indeed not domineering, and their attack methods are also very brutal, relying entirely on their powerful strength. Next, they finished the barbecue, and Akitori took them to the other side of the island. Bang, bang, bang. Asakasawa sat on Aokitori's shoulders. Aokitori was walking in the forest with huge steps. The ground was shaking, followed by Hunter Dragon and the others. Bang, bang, bang. Dongli, it's not time to fight yet. Another giant as tall as Aokitori came over and said in a voice like thunder. This is the red ghost Broki, wearing a horn helmet on his head, 2 huge nostrils rising to the sky, a row of fan-shaped beards on his chin, wearing a suit of armor and holding a giant axe and a giant shield. Bring some little guys to meet you. Kingui Dongli's ear-splitting voice rang out. Red Ghost Brocky, you saw the little ghost on his shoulders and the dinosaur behind him. Bob, I haven't seen anyone for a long time. He laughed and narrowed his eyes. When he laughed, Aokitori threw the dinosaur fruit he was holding in his hand. The dinosaur fruit was accurately thrown into the mouth of Red Ghost Brocky. His originally smiling face froze for an instant, and his body froze. Chapter 51, Trapping the Red Ghost. Dongli, you. Brocky looked at Dongli bitterly. Originally, he wouldn't have such an expression based on his personality, but even he couldn't stand being cheated like this by his best friend and brother. Brocky, it's not a bad thing to follow the captain. We have been fighting for 80 years. It's time to go out and see what the sea is like now. Dongli shook his head and said without any guilt. Brocky glared at him. Thus, I saw his body changing rapidly. A roar came. Then he turned into a huge dinosaur that was more than 20 meters tall. His skin was colored like a fish, but he was also extremely ferocious, with a row of teeth radiating cold light. The forelimbs are as small as Tyrannosaurus rex, but the hind limbs are very thick. Brocky looked at himself for a while, then returned to his human form. Then he set his sights on Asaki Z, lowered his head and shouted, Captain, just don't blame me. Zhang Kais said with a smile. Want? Brocky shook his head. But Captain, we have to go back to Elbef. Now our weapons are no longer enough to participate in the battle. When he had decided in his heart that Asakazawa was the master, he knew that he had to leave the small garden. After 80 years of long-term fighting, their weapons have long been damaged, although they still seem to be usable. Well, how do you plan to go back? Asaki Z nodded. There is one of our ships on Teiku Island. I don't know if it can still be used. Let's go take a look. If it works, you can leave in 2 days and help me find some dinosaurs these days. Okay, Captain. Kababababading he. The 2 giant warriors laughed. Next they walked to the other side of the small garden, where there was a very hidden harbor. Ancient trees stand tall, with dense leaves covering the sky. Huge vines wrap around these trees, and the air is filled with rich moisture. Occasionally there will be bursts of roaring birdsong in the sky or elsewhere. Bang, 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 click, boom. The 4 huge legs trampled down each small tree, and the big hands stretched all the trees supporting the road, and the trees fell to the ground with a loud noise. 2 giants, Tori and Broki, appear. On Dongli's shoulder stood Izaki Z, and on Brocky's shoulder stood Lil Robin, who was looking around with a curious and surprised expression, full of the curiosity of a little girl of this age about everything. They came to this hidden harbor. They saw a U-shaped green harbor in front of them, surrounded by green vines, some of which grew into the water, making the harbor look very beautiful. In the middle of the harbor, less than 10 meters away from the shore, there was a huge ship that was hundreds of meters long. This made Asakazawa's eyes widen. Unexpectedly, this boat is actually 100 meters long. But I believe so. The giant pirates are all made up of giants. If the ship is not big enough, there will not be enough people on it. And what is certain is that the giant soldier pirates have more than one ship. Brocky, let's bring the boat up and take a look. Dongli looked at the boat and said loudly, "Kabababa, come on." Brocky laughed. The two of them got into the water one after another, causing a wave of waves. Fortunately, it was not deep here and the two of them did not sink. Boom! The two people grabbed the bow and stern of the ship, and a terrifying force was released. The giant ship of hundreds of tons was lifted up directly. The seawater shook violently and made a swishing sound. Chapter 52: A New Day. Boom! Exclamation. The two placed the boat on the ground, making a loud noise that sent the birds in the forest flying. This 100-meter giant ship has been here for 80 years. It is covered with moss and weeds and is a lush green place. There are even some small animals living inside. And the bottom of the boat is a little black. The keel is fine, but some places need to be repaired. Brocky shouted. The ships of their giant race are all made of the best trees, and there are hundreds or even thousands of ships. They are naturally extremely tough and not so easy to break. As a group of powerful giants, they are naturally good at everything, especially ship repair. Ah, that's good. A smile appeared on Zhang Kai's face. I didn't expect that the giants were so capable. No wonder Charlotte Lingling wanted to get the giants. They were not only powerful in battle, but also had many skills. The most important thing is that the giants live in the New World, and the Giant Kingdom is a powerful kingdom in the entire world. It seems that in the future, in addition to controlling some necessary people, the focus will still be on the giants. Zhang Kizawa thought secretly in his heart. As long as he controls the giants, he will have a powerful base camp in the New World. Unless the world's top forces come to fight, no one will be afraid of him. According to what he knew, Dongli and Brocky were both from Elbaf village, the village with the largest number of giant warriors. If given the chance, he would go to Elbafu and use dinosaur fruits to create a group of powerful giant dinosaur warriors. Let's go back first. It's getting late now. We'll talk about anything tomorrow. It was Dongli who spoke. Looking at the sky, the sun has already set, and the sea surface is illuminated golden and gorgeous. Well, let's move the boat back by the way. It's an hour away from where they live. You can imagine how big the island is. Even the speed of the two giants is 1 hour. Immediately afterwards, Dongli and Brocky directly picked up the giant ship and walked forward in stride. Time passes quickly. The next day soon came. The sun rises and everything revives. The sun shines on the ancient island shrouded in fog, making it glow with colorful light. Under a big mountain, the two giants and the hunter were sleeping against the mountain. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was also lying next to it, while Asakizawa and the others dug a cave. Zhang Kizawa groaned and slowly opened his eyes. A new day has begun. I'm really looking forward to it. There was a faint smile on his lips, and everything was going well. After a while, everyone got up and started the day's work. Dongli and Carmen the dragon hunter went to capture dinosaurs, while Brocky repaired the boat and Little Robin helped. Everything is going on in an orderly manner. Izaki Z constantly recycles the dinosaurs they captured and transformed them into dinosaur fruits. Most of the dinosaur fruits are dinosaurs on land, and there are very few flying dinosaurs, mainly because they are a bit difficult to catch, because they can fly after all. However, Dongli and Zunlong were both very strong, and it took them most of the day to catch dozens of dinosaurs. Now in front of him, there are more than 60 dinosaur fruits, which are equivalent to more than 60 devil fruits, which is very terrifying. It seems that after going to Sky Island, we have to go to the Chambered Islands and look for Doflamingo by the way. Doflamingo is only a teenager now, right? Izaki Z murmured. Chapter 53: Doflamingo. It's fixed. Kabob in the evening, a sound of laughter came. Next to the huge mountain in the small garden, a huge ship was parked there. The ship's appearance showed signs of repair. The moss and vines had disappeared and it looked brand new. Brokey was standing there holding his axe. That's right. If that's the case, let's leave the day after tomorrow. Jong Kizawa was looking at him from below and smiled. It's not that he doesn't want to leave tomorrow, but that the permanent pointer hasn't recorded the island's magnetic field yet, and it will take another day. He gained a lot at the end of the day, but he also asked them to stop. Although the small garden was very big, if they continued to catch it, the dinosaurs above might become extinct. So he wanted to take it easy first. Anyway, the number of dinosaur fruits has reached 100 now. It was enough for him for the time being. The next island is Drum Island. Chopper is not born yet, which means that the ever-one fruit has not been eaten yet. Izaki Z murmured. And I should also find a doctor and a chef. The Drum Kingdom on the Drum Island is a big medical country and the most people on it are doctors. It's not difficult to find a doctor to join them. At worst, it's just a matter of tying one up. What he is looking for is the ever-one fruit. He doesn't care what happens to Chopper in the future. After all, there are still 20 years before the plot begins. However, the Renren fruit is not strong, on the contrary, it is very weak. It is a Renren fruit, a fruit in human form, which means it can only change into a human form. The reason why Chopper is so strong is because the blue ball is a product of his own invention and has nothing to do with the fruit. If it were him, he might not be as good as Chopper. The reason why he wanted to get it was because he wanted the dinosaur to transform into a human form and have intelligence. After all, the dinosaur was too big. As soon as he rolled his eyes, he took out the phone bug and called. Gulu Gulu, the phone bug changed into Crocodile's face with a cigar in his mouth. What's the matter? Came a cold voice. Crocodile, how are the workplace preparations going? Izaki Z asked with a smile. It's okay. If you have anything to say, just tell me. Crocodile said calmly. Is there any way to sell devil fruits? Huh? Do you have devil fruits for sale? Crocodile raised his eyebrows and said in surprise. Devil fruits are not easy to find now, at least not if he looks for them alone. Well, it's animal-based, just tell me if you have it. Let me introduce someone to you who? Don Quixote Doflamingo. Hearing this name, Jong Kizawa couldn't help but be surprised. Did Doflamingo and Sand Crocodile know each other so early? I'm a little curious, how did you meet him? Dover should be around 20 years old now, still very young, and he should not have arrived in the New World yet. We got to know each other after a fight, Crocodile said calmly. He is the king of the desert who is famous in the sea. He is looking for people to challenge him everywhere. Otherwise, he would not have a bounty of nearly 100 million at such a young age. You must know that the bounties of the two captains of the giant soldier pirates in Tula Broki are only 100 million each. This is not 20 years from now. Izaki Z smiled, making things easier. Although Doflamingo is very dark and rebellious, he still has some abilities, otherwise his power would not rise steadily in the future. Plus, as a former celestial dragon, ordinary people cannot touch him. Chapter 54 Cooperating with Doflamingo. Okay, give me his number. Jong Kizawa smiled. As for whether he will provoke a wolf into his house, that is not what he is considering now. The current Dover is not enough to scare him. After all, Dover is still too young now, and his strength has not yet reached its peak. I remember Crocodile told him a phone number. They chatted for a while and then hung up. Izaki Z called directly according to this number. Gulu Gulu, the phone bug chirped, and then the shape of his face began to change, turning into a face with a straight mouth and a row of white teeth. A familiar strange smile came. Doflamingo, hello, Esakasawa said with a smile. Hey, who are you? Doflamingo smiled strangely, his voice making people's hair stand on end. I'm just a little pirate. Hearing this, Doflamingo paused for a moment. Hey, even the little pirates can find my number. Dover, I'm not here to chat with you. I have a business to discuss with you. Hey, that's interesting, let's talk about it. Sell the devil fruits. You sell them for me. I will only charge you 100 million. The rest is yours however much you make. Azaki Z said directly. In a luxurious castle far away in the West Sea, Doflamingo's unruly eyes narrowed. Doflamingo is still very young now, but he already possesses the domineering power of a king and exudes a touch of coercion. Hey, why are you looking for me? Aren't you afraid that I will swallow you? I still trust the dignified leader of the Quixote family. Izaki Z said softly. Hey, it seems you know me very well. Doflamingo's eyes flickered, and a cruel smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. You can say, how about this? Do you want to do this business? Do it. Why not do it if you can make money? The current Don Quixote family is not the future Don Quixote family. The current headquarters of his forces are still only in the Four Seas, and there are only a few forces in the first half of the Great Waterway. So he is now working hard to make money and expand his power. And devil fruits can easily be sold for more than 100 million Baileys. They are priceless but have no market. He makes money no matter what. Well, I'll be waiting for you at Seek Island. Contact me when you get there. After Zhang Zi's finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Looking at the phone bug who had closed his eyes, Doflamingo's smile faded and his brows furrowed. Somebody come. On the small garden, a smile appeared on Izaki Z's face. Stable. In another month he will have money. As for whether Doflamingo will obviously eat his goods, he is not worried at all. His dinosaur fruit is not another devil fruit. It will not be a loss no matter what. Anyway, if you eat it, you will be under his control, and he wasn't worried about whether Doflamingo wouldn't be able to sell it. That powerful backstage was not for show. Even if the celestial dragons hated him, they still had to give some face to Minch. Time passes in the blink of an eye. 2 days later. Captain, we are waiting for your arrival in the new world. Ha ha ha, remember what I said. Bye won't forget it. Ding hee hee hee. Bye Captain. On the coast of the small garden, 2 giant ships, one large and one small, were docked. Tori and Brokey on the big ship were laughing and looking at the Captain Esakasawa on the small ship. Then the boat started to move slowly, faster and faster, until it disappeared into the sea. Zhang Zi's watched them leave and withdrew his gaze. Let's go, it's time for us to leave. Yes, Captain. Carmen shouted loudly. Although he was still so short, his eyes were very sharp, full of confidence, and he exuded an aura. Chapter 55. Meeting the Peach Rabbit. On the boundless sea, a huge warship was sailing slowly. There were majestic naval soldiers standing on it, holding guns in their hands. Judging from the aura on their bodies, they were definitely the elite among the elite. On the bow of the warship, a heroic and graceful figure stood, looking at the sea with a calm look in his cold eyes, and a pair of long white legs shining with a trace of silk. Lieutenant General Peach Rabbit, a pirate ship, was spotted ahead. An elite soldier came over and said respectfully, wearing a righteous cloak and a pink lace V-shaped dress that highlighted her beautiful figure, Peach Rabbit stretched out her slender hands. The Navy soldier didn't dare to look at her and quickly handed over a telescope. Peach Rabbit took the telescope, put it in front of his eyes and looked over. After scanning around, I found a ship diagonally to her left. What kind of pirate group is this? Peach Rabbit asked coldly. This is a pirate group that has never appeared before, but the person on it is Summoner Z with a bounty of 60 million. It should be his newly formed pirate group. Summoner Z was originally a lone pirate hunter in the East China Sea. He killed most of the pirates in the East China Sea in just a few days. He never left anyone alive. He was cruel and killed a world government in Rogue Town. The nobles of the franchising countries are wanted. The elite Navy soldier told the information he had obtained. Kill the world's nobles. When Taudu heard this, his tone turned cold. The elite naval soldier felt the air around him getting colder and said nothing. Let's arrest him. Taudu lightly opened her red lips and said coldly, although she has no interest in those so-called world aristocrats, this is how it is in this world. As long as you do one thing wrong, no matter how well you have done before, it will disappear. Now that she has become a pirate, she must catch him. This is her responsibility, yes. The elite naval soldier saluted and turned to leave. Immediately afterwards, the warship quickly changed direction and sailed towards the Dragon Flame pirates. And thousands of meters above the warship, a pterosaur was hovering, with a pair of sharp vertical pupils staring down, eyes full of fierce light. On the Dragon Flame pirates in the distance, Esakizawa was already standing on the bow. He had received the alarm from Goku Winged Dragon. When he saw the huge warship, his eyes turned cold. Navy again. He doesn't have a good impression of the Navy now. The current Navy is a dog of the world government. I hope you can be stronger, otherwise you can stay in the sea. Yes, he decided to carry this Navy. Soon, the two ships were less than 50 meters apart. Lieutenant General Taudu, the target has entered the artillery range. Do you want to? Need not. Peach Rabbit said coldly. She stood on the bow of the boat. A sharp light flashed in her eyes, and then a pair of slender hands put a long red knife on her waist and suddenly pulled it out. Clang! Exclamation! A 50-meter-long crimson slash broke through the void and slashed towards the Dragon Flame pirates. The water on the sea surface was cut open and did not close for a long time. Then, on the Dragon Flame pirate ship, Hunter Dragon stepped suddenly and stood in front of Esakizawa. His hands transformed into two huge steel swords and he slashed out suddenly. Clang! Two 15-meter-long white slashes formed an X shape to face the huge red slash. Boom! The two slashes collided suddenly, and a terrifying shock wave of sword energy swept around. A huge bowl-shaped hole dozens of meters wide exploded in the sea, and the sword energy was raging in it. Mamatu's slash was a bit more powerful. After exploding the two slashes of the Hunter Dragon, it was only a little weaker and continued to slash at the UN pirate's ship. Chapter 56 Mosasaurus destroys warship. Boom! The crimson slash hit the hunting dragon directly, making a huge explosion, and the ship shook violently and retreated. The Venator let out a roar of pain, and its body suddenly changed back to its original shape. The huge dinosaur body stood on the bow of the ship and roared. I saw a long scar across its entire body. The wound was several centimeters deep in diameter, and a large amount of blood was flowing. But the wound is healing visibly. Mosasaurus, knock over that warship. Azakizi shouted coldly. Unexpectedly, there were swordsmen and even great swordsman-level experts on that warship, and the ship almost capsized in the ditch. If he were struck by this slash, there would be no need for this ship. The Mosasaurus felt the wrath of its master and roared in the sea. Then, with a flick of its tail, the huge body dived into the sea and crashed into the warship. After this period of familiarity and development, the Mosasaur's speed has now increased by 15 times. In the sea, it is like a huge cannonball heading straight towards a warship. The speed was so fast that only a gray shadow could be seen. On the warship, Taudu put away his sword after finishing one blow. This is her self-confidence. Now she is one of the few swordsmen in the Navy. Although she is not 20 years old, she has surpassed many people. If she can't deal with a 60 million pirate, then she can go back to feeding the pigs. But when she saw the two slashes from the hunting dragon, her beautiful eyes couldn't help but condense. Devil fruit users, he actually withstood one of her slashes, which made her pretty face blush slightly. It was because of embarrassment and anger, but it was not a slap in the face. Suddenly her eyes froze, her hand instantly pulled out Jin Pilau, and a terrifying slash struck Haxia instantly. Boom! The sea water was cut open. Boom! Exclamation. Suddenly there was a violent vibration of her warship followed by a loud noise. The entire warship actually rose into the air, making a click, click, click sound, and a huge hole appeared in the bottom of the ship. Tilda help me. The Navy soldiers above jumped into the air one by one, screaming in terror. Some naval academies will make Tsukibu step in the air with an ugly expression on his face. Taohu's long white legs were also tapping in the air, stepping on the air and floating in the air, with a gloomy face that could drip water. Her cold eyes looked at the bottom of the sea, where a huge gray shadow was swimming quickly. With her eyesight, she could only see blurry shadows. Boom! The warship fell from the sky and hit the sea. A terrifying loud noise was heard, and a huge wave was stirred up, splashing dozens of meters and hitting the Navy in the air. Ho tilde! A roar came from the sea. Then a huge and ferocious head rushed out of the sea. Boom tilde! The huge Mosasaurus hit the warship again. Boom! Exclamation. The warship was instantly shattered by this blow. A large number of wooden boards disintegrated, a huge hole was opened in the middle of the warship, and the warship slowly sank into the sea. King! A slash full of murderous intent came through the air. The Mosasaurus roared angrily, flicked its tail, and rushed towards the sea. PFFT tilde! The body of the Mosasaurus that was struck at the end of the slash cut out a gash several meters long, and the bright red blood dyed the sea surface red. But the Mosasaurus also disappeared. Taohu's legs were shaking with anger, his face was red with anger, and the hand holding the knife was holding tightly and turned white. Ho tilde! At this time a roar came. She turned her head to look, and saw the hunting dragon's thick tail swinging in her direction, and a huge slash flew through the air, splitting the air. Chapter 57 100 Million Bounty. Taohu quickly slashed out with another knife. Boom tilde! A hastily chopped sword directly exploded the dragon hunter's slash, and the sharp sword energy abused the surroundings, blowing several generals who knew how to walk in the sky and fell down. After the hunting dragon fired this blow, it stopped. Looking at the completely destroyed warships and the navy with only a few people left, Zhang Kizawa had a smile in his eyes and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Let's go, he said calmly. Yes, Captain, Carmen shouted excitedly. Originally, he was a little excited and nervous. After all, he was just a little pirate before, and the navy was his nightmare. But now that he saw that this terrifying and powerful navy was sunk by the captain, such a large warship sank, he felt suddenly only excitement and confidence remain. It turns out that the navy is like that. The most excited one is Little Robin, because her hometown and relatives were killed by the navy, and the navy is her biggest enemy. She had been afraid of meeting the navy before, but now that she saw that the captain easily defeated the navy, her uneasiness disappeared, and a look of hope rose in her eyes. She clenched her little hands and thought to herself, I also want to become stronger and avenge my mother. Bam! His ship shuddered. Then it slowly accelerated, and the Mosasaur had returned to the bottom of the ship. They quickly left, leaving only a pile of wreckage and a light red blood trail. On the sea, only a few wooden planks of the Navy's warships were left floating on the sea. Some of the surviving sailors quickly climbed onto the wooden plank, vomiting seawater in horror. The Navy in the sky also slowly fell down. Taohu's face was extremely ugly. She was careless. She really didn't expect that this small pirate group actually had such a powerful sea beast. She didn't realize it for a while. The warship was destroyed and she also lost it. A chance to kill them. What office of the Admiral, headquarters of the Navy? Kong shrank his eyes and stood up. A terrifying aura swept through the entire office, making the air vibrate. Then he hung up the phone bug. His face turned ugly. Summoner Z, it seems that I underestimated you, Kong said in a deep voice. Of course he still remembers this pirate. After all, he personally offered the reward. But what he didn't expect was that this little pirate in the East China Sea would escape from the hands of the vice admiral again and again. This time, Tao's warship was actually sunk and a large number of elite soldiers died, causing heavy losses. The most important thing is to make the Navy lose face. The bronze giant can turn into a dinosaur, that is, the dinosaur before, and it can also slash. It should be an ancient species or a fantasy beast species, and the underwater one is also his pet. It can penetrate warships with one blow, and it is extremely fast. Sora's face was cold as he read the information in his hand. 10 minutes later, a phone call came out. Captain on the vast sea, on the Long Yan pirate ship. Little Robin held a stack of bounty orders in his hand and ran into the cabin with small steps, almost staggering and falling. Squeak. The door to the room opened and Zhang Kai's walked out. "What's wrong?" He rubbed her little head with a smile and said softly. Little Robin blushed, but still looked up at the captain with her big eyes and handed out the reward order with both hands. "Captain, your reward has been increased." Izaki Z took over the reward order, and he was the one at the beginning. But the reward amount has been changed to 100 million billy. He smiled, not surprised at all. If he destroyed a warship and his reward was not increased, it would be unreasonable. After all, that warship was a warship in the navy of a swordsman or above, and its status was definitely not low. Then he took a look at the other reward orders. I found out that there was also a reward for Carmen, but it was only 500,000, which was very low. The photo of the bronze giant hunting the dragon is also on it. He is called the Sword Demon by the Navy and has a reward of 30 million. The underwater Mosasaurus has a reward of 20 million and has no name. Chapter 58. Robin swallows the pterodactyl fruit. Not bad. This reward should attract many pirates to come to me, right? Zhang Kai's nodded with a smile. In this sea, not only pirate hunters will hunt pirates, but pirates will also hunt pirates to enhance their reputation. Therefore, this sea is extremely chaotic, and even the slightest carelessness will cause damage to the sea. But to him, pirates are money and strength. If he has money, he can increase his strength infinitely. Captain, I want to improve my strength, like Brother Carmen. Little Robin looked at him with his head held high, a pair of watery black eyes staring at him, and said, "Do you want to eat dinosaur fruit?" Zhang Kizawa looked at her and asked softly. Although Little Robin is already a user with flower fruit abilities, the dinosaur fruit was created by the system. I wonder if it will conflict with the devil fruit and cause his body to explode. I think. Little Robin nodded heavily. But I'm not sure if anything will happen to you if you eat the dinosaur fruit. If something happens, you will die, Zhang Kizawa said solemnly. I'm not afraid, Little Robin said firmly. She saw that after Brother Kamen ate the dinosaur fruit, his physical strength increased rapidly. He was not her opponent before, but now his strength could block the strangulation of her flower fruit. Although this is because she is young and weak, it is undeniable that dinosaur fruit can really greatly improve physical fitness and strength. In that case, let's try it, Zhang Kizawa said in a deep voice. The consequences of this choice are 50-50 and are all unknown. But he finally chose to believe in the system. After all, the hunting dragon can also turn into a giant and use cutting fruits, although this is through synthesis. Then he walked back into the room and took out a dinosaur fruit. This dinosaur fruit is not a land dinosaur, but the overlord of flying dinosaurs, the Aeolian pterosaur. This is the only large pterosaur caught in the small garden. The others are small and very rare. Walking to the deck outside, Izaki Z looked at her seriously and said, "Robin, once you eat this fruit, you will never regret taking the medicine." "Captain, I'm not afraid." Little Robin's eyes showed determination, and his little face was very resolute. "Well, let's eat it then." Izaki Z handed the Fenshin pterosaur fruit to her. Hunter Dragon and Carmen were surrounding her, looking at her solemnly. "If it fails, this petite and lovely person will die." Little Robin took the fruit, held it in his little hands, opened his little mouth and took a bite. Click! As her teeth bit down, the Fenton pterosaur fruit turned into a beam of light and sank into her mouth. Everyone's hearts tightened, especially Jiang Kizawa's. If this is successful, dinosaurs will create a large number of strong men and change the pattern of the sea. Thus, exclamation, a powerful wave of wind blasted out from Little Robin. Little Robin looked at her body curiously, feeling the powerful power, and then her thin body suddenly changed. Boom! A pair of huge flesh wings spread out from her body, blocking out the sky and the sun, and instantly covered half of the entire ship's deck. And her little head turned into a meter-long sharp head. The pointed beak alone was half a meter long, and the neck was also half a meter long. Under her body was a pair of feet that looked like a red-crowned crane, but the claws on the feet shone with a cold light, which was smaller than that of an adult. Human feet are a bit bigger. Buzzing, I saw Little Robin, who had transformed into a wind god pterosaur, flap his wings. A strong wind blew up, and his huge body rose up in the wind, soaring upward. Yeh! A cry echoed through the sky, and Little Robin soared in the sky. Chapter 59. Using flowers and fruits in the sky. Successful. A smile appeared on Jiang Kizawa's face, and his heart calmed down. Now that Little Robin has succeeded, the value of this dinosaur fruit will skyrocket. But he didn't dare to speak out about it. If he spoke out, there would be an endless pursuit waiting for him. After all, this dinosaur fruit is so outrageous that it is equivalent to a second fruit that people can eat, which will threaten the status of the world government. Therefore, he will not tell the secret before he has absolute strength. But he can still sell dinosaur fruits. After all, another incredible ability of the dinosaur fruit is that he is the main one. As long as others eat his fruit, it is equivalent to having one more subordinate, one more source of intelligence, and one less enemy. Captain Tilda in the sky. Little Robin returned to her human form, but there was still a pair of fleshy wings flapping slowly behind her back. She fell back to the deck, her face flushed and very excited. Well, Robin, I hope you can make good use of this fruit, Izaki Z said, rubbing her little head. Yes, I can do it, Captain. Little Robin shouted with a look of admiration and respect in his eyes. What are your thoughts on developing these two fruits? Izaki Z looked at her and asked softly. Captain, I can use the flying ability of the Fenton pterosaur to fly into the sky, and then use the flower fruit. Little Robin said quickly. Targets within her line of sight can be attacked with flower fruits, and the line of sight in the sky is undoubtedly the widest. Hearing this, Jiang Kizawa nodded. Little Robin's IQ is still online and his imagination is not bad. Your direction is right, but it's not enough. There are many strong men on the sea who can attack the sky, such as Hawkeye. He can split the clouds in the sky with one slash. So in addition to developing flowers and fruits, you also need to train your agility in the air. The Aeolian pterosaur is a powerful predator. You need to strengthen your training to bring out the strength of the Aeolian pterosaur. Izaki Z told her what he could think of. For example, when Huahua fruit attacks, her hands can be replaced by the claws of the Aeolus pterosaur, which are sharper. You can also try to grow a pair of wings behind the enemy or teammates to disrupt the enemy's attacks or make teammates leave or pursue them. He told Little Robin everything he could think of. Little Robin's big eyes widened when he heard this, with an expression of surprise and joy. The captain is really amazing, he can think of so many things. She admired Izaki Z more and more in her heart. All right, you must strengthen your training. If you encounter pirates or navy next time, you too will do it. Izaki Z looked at the only two crew members on the ship and said, Yes, Captain. Carmen said loudly immediately. He looked at Little Robin with a hint of envy in his eyes. At the same time, he was very dissatisfied with the amount of his bounty, but he had never taken action in front of the Navy, so the 500,000 Billy was casually rewarded by the Navy because he was a member of the Dragonflame Pirates. So now he can't wait to find a naval base to have a fight and increase his bounty. Izaki Z nodded and walked back to his room in the room. He looked at the 2 large wooden boxes next to him. They are all filled with dinosaur fruits, and there are currently 65 left. Previously, more than 30 were given to Tori and Brocky to go back and rebuild the giant soldier pirates. He planned to keep 60 of them and give 5 to Doflamingo to sell after arriving at Drum Island. Chapter 60, Going to Drum Island. A few days later. Captain, we're here. Carmen was holding a telescope, and an island covered with huge icebergs appeared in the telescope, and he shouted loudly. A few minutes later, Asakizawa walked out wearing a black shirt, with water droplets on his long silver hair. Looking at Iceland getting closer and closer, a smile appeared on Izaki Z's face. We're finally here. I wonder where Doflamingo is now. Roared Tilda. The Tyrannosaurus Rex also stood up and walked to his side and shouted, with a look of eagerness in his eyes. Being on the boat for so many days and not having much room to move made it extremely boring. 10 minutes later. Boom! The ship docked. Tot. This time, a group of soldiers wearing thick coats ran over to the dock and formed a semicircle, holding guns in their hands. The Tyrannosaurus Rex jumped down first. Boom! The ground shook suddenly, and a big hole was dug out. Roared Tilda. The Tyrannosaurus Rex let out a roar, and the terrifying sound wave accompanied by the fishy stench hit the faces of these soldiers. Shot. The guard captain in the middle looked ugly and waved his hand. Bang, bang, bang. Bullets came out one after another and shot towards the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roared Tilda. The Tyrannosaurus Rex roared, and its huge tail suddenly swept out. Puff, 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 puff. The bullet landed on the Tyrannosaurus Rex and penetrated the skin, but it was difficult to follow. It was all stuck and no blood even flowed. Bang, bang, bang. The huge tail swept across their bodies like a falling tower, and they flew out like rags one by one, screaming in agony, and blood spurted out as if they were free of money. The white ground was instantly dyed red. Ah, damn pirates! The guard captain roared, pulling out the knife from his waist and charging towards the Tyrannosaurus Rex. A hint of ridicule and ferocity flashed across the huge vertical pupils of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and the huge and ferocious bloody mouth opened and took a bite. Puff. A fountain of blood spurted out and froze in the blink of an eye. The guard captain's half of the body flew out and hit the ground, where it also slowly froze. Zhang Kai's jumped down and looked helpless at this scene. But he didn't say anything. It was the escort who fired first. You go find a doctor with good medical skills, and if you can find a chef, find one and buy some supplies on the way. He said to everyone in Kameng who had already walked down. Yes, Captain. You two should go along, but don't make trouble. He patted the Tyrannosaurus Rex and said to the little orangutan. Oh, tilde. Roared Tilda. The Tyrannosaurus Rex and the little orangutan yelled. Then they walked inside. Izaki Z looked around and chose an iceberg location to walk to. The entire Sieg Island is covered with icebergs and snow, and the wind is biting. But because his body has been blessed by the attributes of several dinosaurs, he is not afraid of the cold. His body is radiating heat like a furnace. He didn't know where Chopper would get the fruit in the future, but Chopper ate the Renren fruit at a young age. All he had to do was find where the reindeer herd was. Walking on this street, you will be surrounded by houses on both sides. These houses are all sealed, with only a chimney vent above. The houses are covered with a thick layer of snow. There were few people walking on the street, but there were some, all wearing thick clothes and tightly wrapped, with only 2 eyes exposed on their heads. Hey, below! Zhang Kai's stopped an uncle who was about 1.6 meters tall. The uncle turned around and almost stared out of his eyes when he saw him like this. All right, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.